because of you know,
Just
just in
in
case there's
case.
a technical difficulty. Yeah.
So hopefully I didn't jinx it.
Yeah, so all right. Almost there.
Okay. Let me
Yeah.
just see this. Now my camera's
Go to your page, and here we
wonderful.
go. There we go. All right. So greetings, Laugh Lines and Turbulence fans. We are so glad to have you all here. And we're so excited to have Cathy Holt with us today. I'm going to go ahead and read her bio. I got to find it now. Where did it go? But Cathy is just, we're so excited to hear from her and her insight on life and what we should be doing or whatever. All right, so here's Cathy's bio. So Cathy is an elite international speaker and author who has dedicated her life to creating a world where equity, belonging, and women's leadership are not aspirations but realities. With over 35 years of experience spanning political advocacy and global participation, she has she has mentored women in classrooms, communities, businesses, and presentations at UN meetings. Her book, Unstoppable Women: Owning Our Voices and Leading Change, is a bold declaration for women ready to shake the foundations of leadership. She coaches women to step into leadership by transforming their inner clarity, strengths, and voice into strategic tools for influence, impact, and sustainable success. So, welcome, Cathy. We're so excited to have you here.
Well, thank you so much, Gina and Debbie, for having me. I'm so looking forward to this. I've been watching your podcasts and they're phenomenal and they're great and they're conversational and they're personal, which is what I like.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much. I do appreciate that.
Yeah. So, Cathy, you mentioned that you had this like reinvention after age 50. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. What, you know, I was living my life. I was married for 25 years. I was working, but I was primarily a mom. But I realize now that it's called entrepreneurship, but back then it was just finding jobs and things, mostly consulting that I could do that would allow me also to be flexible enough to be a mom. Because my daughter was an aspiring Olympic horseback rider. And like one summer, we drove 11,000 miles pulling a 3-horse trailer with this huge pickup truck. So, you know, I wanted to make sure I could participate in her life, but also in mine. But then at around 50, there was kind of a trifecta of events that happened that really made me start thinking about the life a little differently. And one was that my mom died. And this all happened in about an 18-month period. My mom died. My 18-year-old daughter had a very debilitating stroke and was paralyzed on her left side for a while. And then her dad decided to leave not too long into her rehabilitation. So it was it was life changing. It was turbulence. And, you know, and I had to figure out how to navigate it all because not only was I grieving the life I wasn't having anymore and fearful about what was it going to be like being single after 25 years of marriage, but also taking care of my daughter through and supporting her through her rehabilitation. And she's doing great now. She works, she lives, she finished school, she went to grad school. So that was good. But at the moment, she had to learn how to walk again. She had to, you know, she couldn't pursue her dream anymore. And so all those things that she was experiencing, I had to be the support system there. And then I was also grieving, you know, my loss of my mom. So it was a real moment in time where I just had to stop and really do some self-reflection about what was it all about and what was I going to do going forward?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, it's a lot in a short period of time
Yeah.
to
It
deal
was.
with. And,
It was, and I was so fortunate to have quite so many friends that really
yeah.
stepped up and stepped in and
Mhm,
really helped me, especially with my daughter. But you know, her
mhm,
recuperation was long and arduous,
mhm,
and I just had to be there. So literally,
mhm,
had to stop everything that I was doing, all the work I was doing, the consulting I was doing, the volunteering I was doing. I was on boards and you know, leaders on boards and stuff like that. Yeah, I just had
mhm,
to say sorry. You know, I have to step away. But it did
mhm.
give me that time instead of being that hamster on the wheel. It really stopped me and gave me the time to look at what did what did I want to do? Who was I? You know, I
Yeah,
had all these other roles that I was fulfilling that sometimes I think we do that as women.
yeah.
And we get so caught up in all the different roles that we're fulfilling that we don't really think about ourselves. And what is it that we
Mhm,
really want? And where do we want to
mhm,
go? And what do we value? And what passion do we have? And
mhm.
so it was in a, you know, sometimes people call me Pollyannish, but you know, in a way, it was one of those things that it was a horrible set of circumstances, but you know, I worked on having some good come out of it.
Yeah, yeah. I think especially being a mom, a mother, we just that's the first role I feel that we just always get pulled into, no matter what,
Mhm.
when our children need us, and no matter how much we're working on ourselves, and we're, even though the kids have grown and they start their own life, we always as women get pulled to that mother role first.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I mean, I was
Yeah.
definitely a mother of, you know, it was a choice I made because I
Yeah.
even had to go through infertility to have my daughter, you know, the
Yeah.
infertility treatment. So it was definitely something very very wanted. And so, you know, that was where I felt my primary role was going to be. And
Mhm.
like I said, fortunately, I found a lot
Mhm,
of different work. I mean, I worked in politics. Um,
mhm,
I did manage her dad's medical uh, practice. For a while, I did medical writing because my original degree is actually in biochemistry and
okay.
journalism. So I married those two things and, you know, got creative and figured out a
Mhm,
career path that gave me that flexibility. So,
Yeah.
mhm,
How terrifying in that moment though, like with your daughter,
mm,
I can't even imagine going through something like that. And you do like when you do go through those things, those challenges, the growth that comes from it that you see once you're on the other side of it, I think is really remarkable.
mhm.
yeah, I mean, it was absolutely terrifying. I mean, she was in a coma for 8 days, and you
Oh,
know, so
easy.
that wondering if she would pull through even, and but it once again, it really did make me realize one, I didn't have control over everything,
Mhm.
but my,
Yeah.
you know, my showing up was what I could do
Mhm.
and really doing whatever I could to support her in her journey. But also I got to watch
Mm.
her and how she handled it and how she
Mm.
really um, fought to get as close to normal, I guess you could say, or you know, a life that
Mhm.
she could thrive and succeed in, and seeing that kind of determination. And you know, I'm not going to say it wasn't hard. There were days I had to
Yeah.
just say to her, Laura, you can't curl up in bed in the fetal position and stay there the rest of your life. Neither can I.
Mhm.
So we got to do something, you know.
Right.
But that's kind of I think it's part of life. My mom used to always say, nobody gets out of life unscathed.
Mm,
But
Yeah.
what it is, it's not how the fact that you know, you're in some way impacted. It's how you react to it. And whether,
Yeah.
you know, it's like that old saying, you fall down, skin your knees, you get up and get going again. And I think that's life. And I think that
Yeah.
um we need to give ourselves the grace and compassion when we do fall down, so
Yeah.
that we can get up the courage to get back up again and move forward.
Mhm. It sounds like you and your daughter were role models to each other. She's learned a lot from you, and then you learned from her. And I think that's so. Sometimes it makes it so beautiful. I have a daughter too, and it's sometimes I sit back and when things get hard or or whatever, it's like, gosh, I have to remember I'm learning, as a mom, and then I'm learning from her, and she's learning from me. So it sounds like you guys have learned a lot from each other as well.
Absolutely. And I
Yeah.
think that's one of the other lessons learned, is that we can learn from anybody, and we
Mhm.
learn from everybody. And
Yeah.
giving her the space and the freedom to develop how she had to develop. It was hard. I mean, your mommy, you wanted to fix everything. But,
Yeah.
there were times I just had to stand back and say, I've got to let her find her path here. But at the same time, I can be there as a safety net or a nudge if I have to nudge, or just a support
Right.
system. But, that is, she's got to find her path and her way to lead in her life.
Yeah. I love how you said just to be there for her, not to you're right. You get into that mother role, and sometimes we forget, I think, to just listen. And instead of trying to fix everything all the time. I think mothers fall into that. Their child is going through something and they just want to hurry up and fix it for them so they don't suffer. But sometimes we just need to just listen to them, and without trying to fix everything right away.
And I think that's true of just
Yeah.
women, and especially entrepreneurs, or women a lot. That's
Mhm.
one of those traits that, whether it's nurture or nature, I don't get into that. But, I do think there's some social conditioning in there that we are expected to be that caregiver, and that, person that's compassionate and the one to step in and fix. And you add that to the motherhood thing. And, but I think there's a lot of, I think a lot of women do feel that way and kind of can get stuck into that.
Yeah.
I from all my experiences in life, I created this framework, which I call the zones of greatest influence. But there's 5 different levels where I've identified I've fallen into them. Most women I work with fall into them. And how do we progress out of one into the next? And, and that, the whole idea is to evolve and not get stuck in any one place. But we have to acknowledge our lived experiences. We have to acknowledge what's impacted us,
Yeah.
what's propelled us, and what's helped us evolve. And quite honestly, I do believe, I mean, I'm 71 now. And I do believe after all these years, I finally realized that we learn the most on the edge of our discomfort.
Mhm.
And,
Mhm.
Yes,
so
I
even though we
agree.
don't
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah.
Well,
That is true. And by the way, you look phenomenal.
Well, thank you.
I
I
could,
had to throw that in there. And
yes.
I know people say like, we get into this thing like what's whatever number we talk about is supposed to look like. But I'm gonna tell you, you look fabulous. So I just
Well,
needed to
thanks.
throw that out. I just needed to
But I
throw that
guess
out
I
there,
throw that
Cathy.
in because I've got a lot of years past 50 that have really taught me a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just it. Like, we had 50 and we're really just coming into our own,
Mhm.
right? But there's
Yeah.
all these years afterwards that we continue to flourish and grow and
Mhm.
tweak and not twerk, tweak.
Yes,
We're being clear about that.
yes. Uh-huh.
Or twerk, I don't know. Some
Okay,
people
well,
might.
that's right. Whatever floats your boat.
Right,
That's right, that's
exactly.
right. No judgment here.
Right,
Yeah, no, this is a no judgment zone.
That's
But
right.
but
absolutely.
I think again, like you mentioned, Cathy, we're ever evolving. We're always evolving.
Mhm.
I think every stage of our life.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe that also. And I think
Yeah.
part of that evolution and what I really speak a lot to is that when we do have this turbulence, and it is such a great learning experience, that one, it teaches us more trust in ourselves,
Mhm.
but it also teaches us courage, because to move forward, you have to be courageous. You know, it's just taking that next step after a setback is, it takes the courage. And sometimes we don't give ourselves credit for being courageous. You
Mhm.
know, we concentrate on what happened instead of how we evolved from it. How did we move forward from it?
Yeah.
And I think that's super important to
Mhm.
women who can be, yeah, we're our own worst voice. I mean, I have a
Mhm.
friend who calls her the little devil on her shoulder, or the little
Yeah.
nag on her shoulder, Charlie. And she never told me why Charlie, but you know, that nagging voice, that whole thing about, you know, we can call it imposter syndrome, you can call it whatever
Mhm.
you want, but it's there trying to hold you back, or you know, the negative naysayer kind of thing.
Mhm.
And it takes courage to not listen and
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
not fall
Yeah.
into patterns of belief systems that might have been taught to us early
Mhm.
on in life, or
Mm-hmm.
through what we hear in the news or what we hear on
Yep.
commercials. You know, I often reference, there was a commercial way back. You're probably both too young for this one, but there was a woman, it was supposed to be speaking to women's capacity. And the jingle went something like, I can bring home the bacon and fry it up in the pan.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah,
Yep.
and you know, that was supposed to be for our, you know, to really honor the capacity women have to do so many different things. But unfortunately, it also became, you know, an impetus, I guess you could say, for exhaustion, because I
Mhm.
know I fell into that a
Yeah.
superwoman role. I did. I mean, I was
Mhm.
doing it when my daughter was growing up and doing all the different things I was, and working, and, you know, driving 11,000 miles in a truck with a horse trailer, you know,
Mhm.
but it didn't kill me. But at the same time, I now look back on it, and there was some exhaustion, and there was, you know, some distraction from who I was. And like I said earlier, that ability to stop and think about me, myself, and I, and what did I want to do?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I think the other thing too, that even in other people's stories like yours, Cathy, or stories that things that have happened to me, I think at those times where life says enough, you need to slow down. It gives
Mhm.
you an opportunity to reflect on what's the most important, and to really
Mhm.
just take a step back. Because when you're in the midst of that craziness, the hamster wheel, like you said, you don't, you're not seeing, like they say, people look
Can't
at the
see clearly.
right.
Mhm.
So having that, I mean, it's
Mhm.
terrible that your daughter went
Mhm.
through that and that you had to go through that with her. I'm so glad she survived it. I think that
Mhm.
is a blessing in and of itself. But yeah, that opportunity to really be able to take a step back can
Yeah,
really,
and I think that a key that it taught me, that I really, when I'm working with other women, is that how important self-reflection is, how
mm,
important to taking that
Mhm.
time,
yeah.
how important is to know yourself. I
Yeah.
joke, I mean, you're with yourself 24/7. It's the only relationship you have 24/7. So you might as well get to know yourself. But we sometimes are the worst at getting to know ourselves.
Yes.
But yeah, but once you know your strengths and your values, where will you draw the line in the sand? What is so
Yeah.
important to you? That's when you can really start developing a life and a leadership journey that where you can say, I mean, everyone uses the word authentic, and basically authentic means knowing yourself and living yourself. It's the same thing as integrity, living what you believe and standing up for it. And, you know, I think that's where we have the best, it's the best indicator. Some people call it the compass, the North Star of what you should be doing and where you should be going and where you should be putting your energy, because,
Yeah.
you know, we're juggling so many balls that eventually some of them hit us in the face.
So Kathy, you know, on that note that you're mentioning, like finding your North Star or, you know, your authentic self. I talk to a lot of my friends who are around the same age in their 50s, and we're all going through the same stuff as far as empty nesters or career changes. And a lot of times when I talk to other women, and they say, I don't even know who I like. How do you even begin to know who you are? Because there is an essence of you. The essence of you is there somewhere. But how do you even begin to even, and there's several friends of mine like that have said, I don't even know what I like anymore. I don't even know what I want to do, or I don't even know where to even begin to know who I am. So what would be the first few steps to start some self-discovery to realize who you really are? What would you suggest?
Yeah, I think what I would say to that, and we all go through it. I went
Yes.
through it. I really do think when children, if you have children, when they leave the nest, or when you hit 50, for many women, we are feeling freer, more decisive a little bit on certain things, and are willing to speak up more because we don't have some of those social constraints we're not worried about. Or, you know, if I say that, will I hurt somebody's feelings? Well, after a certain point in time, you're like, that's their problem, not mine. You know, I got to say it. So, but as far as for the reflection or the self-discovery, I think it starts with finding quiet, but at the same time, trying some different things.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as failure in my mind. It's just an opportunity to learn. And if you do something and it doesn't work, you know you don't want to do that. Or if you do something and you don't like it, you know that's something you don't really want to do again. So it starts helping you narrow the field as
Yeah.
to what is it that really floats your boat. And I
Yeah.
think it's also, I mean, I do journaling. I don't call it meditation because I don't really know the rules of meditation, or if there are rules, but you know, where I just stop and think and ask myself
Yeah.
questions like, what, what do you feel like doing? What makes you happy? What have you done in the past that really got you excited? Because we
Yeah.
all should be doing things that bring us joy and excitement. That doesn't mean, once again, that we don't have hardships. We do. But at least if you're doing something that you really enjoy, then when you have those hardships, they knock you off your balance a little bit, but you can get back up because you're motivated by a passion or a joy. And it's just a lot of asking yourself questions. It really is. The whole first chapter of my book, it's the one, the purple one up there, in It's Unstoppable Women Owning Your Voices and Leading Change, is, well, I guess it's maybe the second chapter, is about self-reflection. And there's, you know, there's a whole list of things that you can be doing that start you on that journey, and asking those questions and seeing, where do you think you want to go. I went back to school and got a master's degree at 56. Why? Because after I did all this self-reflection and said, what do I really like to do? I like to work with women. I've been working with women most of my life. Even when I was in politics, I worked on women's issues. But I realized I had an opportunity to work in the Maldives because of my political background. And I decided I really wanted to work internationally. And I wanted to work with women because part of my job, I was creating a voter education program for their first presidential election. And I was teaching a team there, and I wanted to make sure, because it is a Muslim country and it's a very moderate one, but I wanted to make sure women were part of the equation, and the voices of women who had traditionally not been heard as loud would be involved. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. But I also understood to work internationally, having just a bachelor's degree wasn't enough, because bachelor's degrees around the world are very different. But if you got a master's degree, that was more of a level playing field. So I said, okay, I got to go back to school and get a master's degree. But it took that thinking and trying and doing and new adventures and seeing what I liked and seeing what I didn't like to give me that direction. And I think we do. We need to give ourselves the space to try different things.
Mm-hmm.
And I know some people, you know, they have a full-time job and it's hard, but you can find, Gina and I were talking about it just a little bit earlier, and all the things she's doing right now. When people ask her, how do you find the time? Well, everyone has time. It's just, how do you spend that time?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This is true. Yeah.
Well,
And I think if you really want to, you know, you make the time too.
yes.
If you're that passionate about something, you will make sure you make the time for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you prioritize it. You prioritize yourself,
Correct.
and you prioritize your time around those things that are serving self. And it's hard because often there's been so much blowback almost about women taking time for themselves. Oh, you're being selfish, or you should be doing something else, or you should be taking care of this, or why aren't you going and volunteering? Well, yeah, we can do that. And volunteering is a great way to try different things. It really is. I mean, you can the cost of going in and volunteering, it's not like the responsibility is so heavy that if it doesn't work, you know, things fall apart around you. So that's another way to try new things. But we just have to get rid of that concept that taking care of self is selfish. I mean, it's a necessity.
It is, and yes,
Mhm.
absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely love that.
And not feeling guilty about, like, again, and not feeling guilty about it from your perspective. Like, you know, people will say things, like you just said, you should, you know, people may say you should be doing this or that, but not feeling guilty about it. I think women also we grow up with this, well, my mom did everything. And if I'm not constantly busy or constantly doing everything, and you know, I feel a little guilty not making the time for myself.
Yeah.
Right.
And
And
getting out
we
of
do
that
that. I
belief.
did that too. I mean, I thought that way
Yeah.
too with my mom,
Yeah.
because she was juggling 3 kids. My dad was in the military, and when he wasn't left the military, he was an airline pilot and went away for long periods of time. And she did it all. I mean, she even had to fix the washing machine once in a while, the belt on the washing machine. So we
Yeah.
see that, but then I have to remind myself, because I taught women in gender studies in a university level, and I have to remind myself, what social expectations did they have to live up to?
Yeah.
That fortunately we have progressed some, and some of those expectations have fallen away to some extent. But we still, it's inside us. It's what
Yeah.
we've been conditioned. It's internal limiting beliefs is what they call
Yes.
it. And we just, as I said, that little thing on your shoulder that's saying, no, you have to do it this way, this way, this way. You don't. You can say no, like my friend says, shut up.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well,
I feel like we're slowly getting, each generation is
yes,
starting to, you know, change with all of that too.
absolutely.
Definitely.
Well, and the other thing too is we're moving forward, but there's still that expectation, that kind of that societal expectation, but now we have the extra layer that, you know, you almost have to have this nowadays, is that two income household. So
Yeah.
women are working full time and then doing all the stuff.
Yeah.
So Yeah, I think we've come a
Yeah.
long way, but yet we need we need to come further.
Mhm.
Well, and the kind of the good side of that is, yes, women are out in the workforce and they, because of the economic necessities.
Yeah.
The flip side of that can be, if we're not careful, of not expecting others to chip in and share the load. And
Yes.
that we, I look now at some of the young women my daughter's age that are married and have families, and their expectation is more that it's a partnership. It's not, I'm taking care of everything and you go off to work. you know
Right.
and that's okay if that's the partnership agreement you reach. That's
Mhm.
Yeah.
okay too.
Mhm.
Mhm.
It's not a negative thing, but they're looking at these relationships and these in having a marriage or a significant other as more of a partnership. And I
Mhm.
think that's so healthy. That's
Yes.
so healthy.
And I think even in our generation, well, in our generation or being in our 50s, and what I've learned in the last few years, because my mother was, I mean, my parents were from Eastern Europe, so that's a whole nother, ball of wax there, you know. So, but asking, just being honest and stop getting angry if you're doing something and your partner isn't chipping in, if you're slamming cabinets or getting angry for no reason, just use your voice and be honest. Say, hey, I would love if you can help me with this. uh Not, you can't read nobody could read your mind.
Right.
Nobody could.
I actually used to have a poster in my room when I was in college, and it said, "Tell me what you think I flunked ESP."
Love that.
And I think it works both ways, for me to tell people
Yeah.
what I'm thinking and for them to tell me. And does it always work? No. Do I always do that? No. Depending,
Mm.
just depending on the cost sometimes of speaking up, but that's
Yeah.
something to live by.
Yeah. Yeah, and exactly. Not making assumptions and not for years I used to get so mad about like dragging things out of the car. I never even told my husband I had stuff in the car to bring in the house.
Yep.
So all I had to do was just say, "Hey, can you come out and help me?" So I think communication is really key now too.
Huge.
In a partnership is communicating exactly what you both want to, what you both need to do to help out each other.
Mhm. And I
Mhm.
Mhm.
think to take that another step, communication is also important for women to say what they want to achieve in their life and what
Yeah.
support they need to do that. Because the we don't always, I should use my I statements, I didn't always make that clear. And when I started making that clearer, then it changed the dynamic of a lot of different relationships.
Mhm.
That
Mhm.
these are my expectations. I have expectations too about how we're going to interact, whether it's friends, relations, like daughters, sisters, mothers, fathers, and really, I call it is setting boundaries, but that kind of
Mhm.
sometimes has a very negative connotation. It isn't. It's
Yeah.
just making clear what
Mhm.
you think should be happening, what you want to do, what support you need, and
Mhm.
being honest about it. And
Mhm.
it is boundaries, but it's a very positive thing to do.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. So you have to show us your book. Bring it a little closer if you're close
Oh,
enough to it.
let me grab it then.
Yeah. Because we
It's
want the readers or the readers. Well, the readers, yes.
The readers
The
and
viewers.
the viewers, the readers, the
Yeah.
listeners.
Isn't that a beautiful cover? Absolutely love it. Yeah.
I,
When did you write the book then, Kathy?
it was published, it came out, well, it came out. It actually, I wrote it between Thanksgiving and New Year's
mm,
last year
Good for you.
because,
Wow,
yeah, I
girl.
had been to the Emmys Yes, the Emmys, with the 262 Mission Accepted book, because I wrote the
Yeah.
forward, and we were at a gifting event at the Emmys, and everybody there that I've worked with for a while kept saying, "Oh, Cathy, you need to write your book and just get it done." And I said, "Oh, okay." And then I was offered the opportunity to debut it at the Oscars in March.
Mhm.
And so I had a very limited window to actually do it. So I became a hermit and just wrote, ate, slept, wrote, ate, slept, pretty much for that period of time.
Wow.
And so that it would be published in time to debut at the Oscars at a gifting event,
Wow.
a celebrity gifting event. And then it actually came out to the public in April, right after the event.
Congratulations.
Thank
Yes.
you.
That's such an achievement.
Amazing. Yes. Yes.
And even now, I was just getting ready for this. I was looking at myself in the mirror and thinking, there's another book now. There's another book because I've evolved, and
Yeah.
through all these experiences I've been having, um, we constantly grow. We have to have that
Yeah.
growth mindset. I mean, otherwise we get stuck, and we don't
Yeah.
want to be stuck. We want to move up through life and through our leadership and our
Mhm.
careers and everything we're doing.
Yes.
And I was thinking, "Ugh, there's so much more I need to really share at this point
Mhm.
because I've learned that much more, but I don't know that I could do that intensely like I did this last time. I think I'll take a little bit more time."
Yeah. Yeah. It's rough. I did the rodeo just like you did.
Mhm. For
Oh,
me, that was the process I had to use because
yeah.
once I got in the flow, I
Yep.
mean, I was
Yeah.
explaining to Gina very early in my career, I was a medical writer because my original
Mhm.
degree is in biochemistry, but also my minor was in journalism. And I decided I
Mhm.
didn't want to go to medical school. So I went into medical writing. And so I
Mhm.
knew about writing,
Yeah.
but and I knew that my style was to just get in the flow, not be distracted, and do
Right.
it, because otherwise just figuring out where did I leave off and where do I pick up again
Yeah.
takes
Yeah.
so much time. So
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was just the process I used. I know I have a lot of friends that are authors, and we all have our different process, but you just have to find the one that's best for you.
Mhm.
That's what I always tell people.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
there's some old school or whatever you want, whatever school it is that says you got to get
Mhm.
up first thing in the morning, you got to write, and people get stuck on that. And I'm
Mhm.
not one who can do that because I've got so much going on in the morning, and that's not what my creative brain is thinking.
Mine either.
And so I always encourage other writers, like, do find what works for you. Don't worry about what people are saying you have to do, because if that's the case, you're not going to love it.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It does have to work
Mhm.
for you.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
and to talk about growth and change and everything. And I am literally right now, and I was explaining to Gina earlier that I'm in production right now for a TV show
Oh,
that will
okay.
be streaming on a streaming network that has
Okay.
supposedly about, I don't know, 900 million watchers around the world because they're syndicated around the world. And
Mhm.
that, for me, when they offered me that opportunity,
Yes.
it was like, oh, heck no, I don't know anything about TV. And
Yeah.
then they gave me the freedom to create it. And I wanted to,
Mm.
a lot of my life has been about opening up spaces for women's voices to
Yes.
be heard and their stories to be shared and their truths to be told. And so, and that was kind of one of my values. And so I really had to stop and rethink my original decision and say, okay, does this align with what I believe, what I want to do, what impact I want to have? And
Yes.
I went back to them and said, okay, it's going to be an incredible learning curve. I have a lot of people helping me and behind that production process, but
Yes.
it's a big learning curve. But it's going to be basically like you all are doing, just interviewing women about their
Yeah.
leadership journeys. What did they
Yeah.
learn? What challenges did they
Mhm.
face? What can they pass on to the next generation? Kind of like your question about
Mhm.
how do you get into this whole, how do you figure it out, what you want to do
Mhm.
next? Um,
Yes.
and so that's going to be on Easy Way TV through the Women's Channel, which I know you
Yes.
interviewed Deb Drummond.
Oh, she's phenomenal. I love
Yeah.
Deb Drummond. Yes.
And so I'm working
Mhm.
with her, and it's
Yes.
called Holt Talks the Lead, and that's the
Yes.
little poster they made me over there. So,
Love it. I love that. Yes.
so but you know,
Yes.
I believe that the other thing, to answer your question that you asked a little earlier, Debbie, I think one of the things that I have been fortunate to have the mindset of is saying yes. I've always been one of those that wanted the next adventure. I was always just, yeah, okay, sure, I'll try it. Now, I won't say I won't do skydiving or anything that really challenges me, you know, or death defying kind of thing. But if it was something that of a challenge or a new direction to try, I've said yes. You know, like when I
Yeah.
was invited to go to the Maldives, I worked in politics for 17 years, but I had never created a voter education program. But I thought, well, with all my experience and people there that want to learn, I think we can do this. And I said, I
Mhm.
mean, I went there and lived for 3 months.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
So I think that's another one of those things about that as you're trying to find out what you want to do, say yes to all these different things,
Yeah.
you know, and
Yeah.
try them. Just try them, and you'll
Mhm.
find what really, um, as they say, floats your boat. And it changes over time. I mean, there's things that I was
Mhm.
doing a lot of travel because I was speaking on a lot of UN panels around the
Mhm.
world. And like this past year, I kind of said, I don't really want to travel that much. I can do so much more on Zoom. Traveling has gotten too crazy. You know, I was going to like Africa and Asia
Yeah.
and you know, things like that. And I was like, it's a South America. And even though I lived in Brazil for 5 years, it's still the travel part has gotten more challenging.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And so I've changed now. Okay, I did the travel.
Mhm.
Now I find ways to do that same work, but do it, you know, digitally on Zoom or, you know, through
Mhm.
different meetings that we can have,
Yeah.
and some of the UN meetings
Mhm.
when women come to New York, which is why I also moved to Connecticut so I could be closer to New York and get to those
Mhm.
meetings more easily to meet with women.
Yeah.
What a great what you just said now too is that doing things through Zoom. We have so many tools today to
Mhm.
get our message out there, our you know, our educate you to help other people. We have Zoom, we have just like those podcasts. Gina and I have this on Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, and all that. But what a great, there's almost like, I don't want to sound like, mean, but like, there's almost like no excuse not to, put yourself out there and do what you want to do.
Mhm.
If you want to get into like either coaching or writing or whatever, there's just so many tools available today.
Mhm.
You have so many options.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was teaching, as I said before, women and gender
Mhm.
studies when COVID hit, and
Mhm.
it was in-person classes. You know, I'd
Mhm.
been doing that for a couple of years, and all of a sudden we had to transition to Zoom classes.
Mhm.
And fortunately, I had already been doing so much international work and meeting on Zoom and meeting back
Mhm.
then we used Skype, so that tells you how far
Yeah.
back
Yes.
that
Yeah, I
was.
remember Skype. I know.
And
I can
it's
still hear
like,
the ringtone from it.
I know it's like dialing, you know, it's like that you've got mail dial and
AOL.
stuff.
Yeah.
But I now it was different. Yes, it was very different. How to teach was very different. You know, you didn't get the same. You could try very hard to get that interaction, and you know, there were tools we could use to do that, but it was different, but we still
Mhm.
made it happen.
Yeah.
The students
Yeah.
still learned. We still had conversations that you know, engaged them in
Mhm.
critical thinking. And
Mhm.
so, but I was a little bit ahead of the curve because some of those professors were going bonkers thinking, oh my God, I can't do this. I don't know how to do this. I can't do
Yeah.
this. And fortunately,
Mhm.
I had already been doing some of that.
Mhm.
So it was still daunting. I mean, I still had to rewrite all
Yeah.
the, you know, lesson plans and everything to present differently, but at
Mhm.
least the tech didn't scare me as much.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the thing too. With the, I think it's always the technology is just not being intimidated. I think it's not just keeping up with it, but not being intimidated to learn it.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
feel that the older generation we always feel a little intimidated by technology.
Yeah, and it's, I still don't like it when I have to reprogram my remote for the TV, for the Apple
Me
TV.
neither.
But I know I can do it, so I get out
Yeah,
the instructions and I said,
you're
"Well, I
right.
haven't done this in a long time, so let me look and figure it out again." But you
Yeah.
have
Yeah,
to learn, you have to keep up if
yeah,
you wanna if you don't another expression that I've used a lot is, you know, we have to keep evolving because when you stop evolving,
yep,
you become a dinosaur and dinosaurs
yeah.
are extinct.
That's right.
Mm,
That's
mhm.
I
right.
mean,
And I see something very, very similar. I'm like, we're always evolving, always evolving.
Yes.
But yeah,
Yeah. Love it.
definitely.
So Kathy, where can, if people want to talk to you more or ask you more questions, or if they want to get your book, like where do they get your book
Mhm,
and how can they find you best, what's the best way for them to reach out to you if they
mhm.
had any questions or anything?
yeah, do you want me to put it in the chat or just say it, or
You
how's the
can
best way
just
for you
say
to
it,
do it?
yeah, and then we'll
Okay.
just add the
We're gonna
links
add
too.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
gonna add the link
Well,
when we.
yeah, my email is Cathy at Catherine-Holt.com, and it's always spelled with a C and all lowercase. And that's the best way to get through to me.
Great.
On my website, there's access to a lot of different things, and that's just www.cathyholt.com.
Mhm,
And there's also there, I do have a free gift for anybody who wants it, and it's a reflection guide that guides you through some of the moves you can make right now to do to as I call it, reach your zone of greatest influence. We all want to
I
operate on the
love that.
place where we're clear about who we are, where we have our message down,
Mm,
we know what
Yeah.
we want to go after, we know what we want people to learn from us. And,
yes.
and we say it. We're not afraid to say it. We have the confidence to say it because once again, confidence you get through doing. You take
Mhm.
Yes.
the courage to start the action, but it's the confidence. When we learned to ride a bike, we didn't sit around and go, "Oh, I'll wait until I'm confident. I wait until I know everything about the bike." And we got on the
Right.
bike and we did it. And it
Yeah.
wasn't pretty all the time, but that's how we got confidence.
And isn't
Yes.
that funny how when we're kids, we just do those things, but as we
Mhm.
get older, where's that shift that all of a sudden everything creates fear in us and then
Hmm.
that hesitation, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's a great point, Gina. It's true. It's like when we're kids, we just do. We
Mhm.
just look, you want to roller skate or skateboard, or like you said, and I remember as a kid just doing it, not even just doing it. But now we run through a list of, like you said, Kathy, as well, like when when I feel confident, or let me just investigate this. And we do a lot of procrastinating, I
Mhm.
think, instead of doing.
Yeah, I
Just
think, and
moving.
part of it, I think, is there's a bunch of fear involved in that. The fear of
Oh,
looking
yeah.
stupid, the fear
Yeah.
of being called out for not knowing instead of saying, "Yeah, I don't know, but I'll figure it out." That's
Mhm.
what that's what we've done all our lives.
Right.
Mhm.
And
Right.
so there's a little bit of fear, and I think that just when you do take hard knocks,
Mhm.
it makes you more cautious. And
Mhm.
Mhm.
sometimes we just
Yes.
have to throw that caution away and say, "No,
Yeah.
instead of being cautious, I'm going to be courageous and I'm going to go
Oh, I love
try."
that. Yes. I love that, instead of being cautious, being courageous. That's
I
perfect.
love that.
I think when we're a little too cautious, it holds us back.
Oh,
Mm.
absolutely. Absolutely.
It
Now,
does.
there's times we need to be cautious. We're not
Oh,
going to
well,
put our
most
hands on a hot
definitely. Yes.
stove,
Yes.
but
No.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. That's understandable. Yes. There are
yeah,
times to be cautious, but we can't be overly cautious all the time about second guessing everything.
Right.
exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Or feeling like we have to be ready to do it.
Yeah.
You're never 100% ready.
No,
I mean,
that's true.
perfection, it's what I said earlier, it's about presence, not perfection. It's showing
Yes,
up and trying and doing. It's
yes, yes.
because it's never going to be perfect. That whole concept of perfection, I don't know where the
Oh my
heck we
goodness,
got
yes.
that, because it doesn't exist.
I think surrounding yourself with people too.
Yeah.
Mm,
You know, and that's another thing is as I've gotten older, or is that surrounding myself with people that are encouraging, like friendships change too.
Yes.
And you know, there's some of us, I at 50, there are some of my friends who are just fine, you know, and that's great if that's for
Mhm,
you. And
mhm.
that, you know, they're fine where they're at, what they're doing, that they're, home, what they come home, they work, they come home, they relax, they watch the shows or whatever, you know. And then there's, other friends that you have that you say, hey, I have this idea. I think I wanna, I wanna write a book, or I wanna start a TV show, or I wanna start a podcast. And you surrounding yourself with someone that I think, you know what, that's a great idea. And
mhm.
not listening to people say, well, you don't have the experience.
Right.
Well, what are you going to talk about? What do you keeping yourself surrounded by other people who are like-minded as you are?
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's really that's important as I've gotten older too, is being very you spending time with people that are thinking the same way, or like encouraging, or we bounce off each other, we create, creatively, or whatever it is like that.
Yeah, no, I think it's absolutely essential to have a
Hmm.
support network, or for,
Mhm.
and I learned that literally when my daughter had her stroke, because I was one of those, I was going to do it all, and that's when I learned no. And people want to help. There are people that want to help, that want to see you succeed, that want
Yeah.
to support you in your endeavors. And
Yeah.
as you said, it shifts and changes over time. You're lucky if you have some that stay with you for the long term. But
Hmm.
at the same time, as you move into different directions, then you need to find those people that are in your corner, that are
Yeah.
there to see you succeed and help you succeed. And that's
Hmm.
a big part, I think, of self-care also.
Yes.
Agreed.
That
Yes. Yes.
we just sometimes, at least for me, I didn't understand the importance of that. And so therefore I didn't give it the energy that it needed to be nurtured.
Hmm.
And it was in experiencing different things that I learned that you have to have that. You absolutely have to have it, because it's not just, you know, telling you you're doing good, or yeah, that's a great idea. It's the energy that it brings
Yes.
Mhm.
to you and to
Yeah.
what you're doing and what they're doing. And it creates this energy field almost of
Yeah.
of of excitement and positivity, and um, just the power of positive thinking and
Hmm.
affirmations and all those things. They're very important to
Yeah.
they're essential to success.
Yeah.
Well,
I
however you define that success, but to your success, however you define it, you
yeah.
need those things to
Hmm.
to add to that whole equation of who you are and where you're going and what you're going to do with your life.
Hmm.
I was thinking about the little guy in the shoulder when you have people, because that's your inner voice telling you you can't, you shouldn't. Then you have people that will
Mhm.
sometimes say the same thing. So
Yeah.
it's almost like they're like getting on your shoulder as well. And so
Hmm.
it like causes you to feel heavy. And I think
Yeah.
surrounding yourself with people who are like-minded and who are encouraging and who want to see you succeed, that pulls
Hmm.
all of that off. What kind of analogy is that? That's amazing.
Yeah, that is a great analogy. And I call those, I've learned to call those people energy vampires.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Energy vampires.
I'm sorry, but, and if you not that I have to have cheerleaders around me. I do need people to hold me accountable and to challenge how did you come about that, but in a way that wants to see me succeed, not that wants to tear me down. Because if you
That's
want to
right.
tear me down, I don't need you in my life. There's a plenty of stuff, just everyday stuff that's there to
Mhm.
tear us down.
Yeah, yeah,
that we
yeah,
don't need
absolutely.
what we call friends doing that also.
Right.
yes. No, I agree. I agree. It just makes me think of a few experiences too. But yeah, and then being courageous enough to like know not to listen to the energy vampires, and in you know respecting your peace, and then
Mhm.
not feeling guilty about like, "Ah, I don't want to hang out with you."
Yeah. No, and I
I don't.
think that's been one of the hardest things I've ever
Yes.
had to do, I think, is really distance myself
Mm-hmm.
from people that I care about,
Yes.
but at the
Yeah.
same time don't add to my life.
Right.
And it's just it's a hard decision to make, and it's a hard thing to do. But I
Yeah.
think once again it gets down to self-care. I mean, we've got to take care of ourselves. And if you
Mm-hmm.
have something that's trying to pull you under in the current of, in the water,
Mm-hmm.
then you gotta, swim away.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
Yep.
So your
Definitely.
book, where can people find your book if they'd like to read it? Because I am going to snag a
Like,
copy myself.
Oh, well,
yeah.
thank you. It is
I
on
can't wait to.
Amazon.
Okay.
Okay, on Amazon, wonderful. I can't wait to check it out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just,
absolutely.
you can Google Unstoppable Women, and and the tagline's owning our voices and
Mm,
leading change. But if you Google Unstoppable Women, it's on Amazon. That's the
Perfect.
primary way to get books these days.
Perfect.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. And then your the TV show you're working on, will you keep us updated on that? And
Yeah.
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
Send us the
once,
links or whatever. Like we would
yeah.
love
yeah,
to share with everybody on
mhm,
Oh, I
here.
appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
absolutely.
it'll be evergreen because once we record it,
yeah,
they make it accessible through this Easy Way TV, so that if
yes,
you have the link, it's kind of like YouTube, only I guess bigger. If you have the link, you can go
yes,
to it and watch it anytime. And I know Deb's already got some, you interviewed Deb. She's already got some shows up because she started about
yes,
a year ago. And
Yeah.
yes.
hopefully we will be recording the
Mhm,
first couple, the beginning of
mhm.
December.
That's
What a
fantastic.
wonderful organization that is, the
Yeah.
262, and with Deb Drummond and all that. I think that's just remarkable. That interview with Deb, and just speaking to her personally as well after
Mhm.
that, was just like, what a wonderful opportunity for women to get out there and, you know, like your show and stuff. And
And
Yeah.
lift each
I'm
other
super
up.
excited for you. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, and I think what I love about that sisterhood is that it's all
Yeah.
about collaboration,
Yeah.
not competition.
Right.
There's, our philosophy is there is room for all of us to do the work we do, because we
Mhm.
bring our unique perspectives, because we've lived unique lives. And
Yes.
so,
Yeah.
I think that's what has kept me so involved over the
Yeah.
years.
Love
Yeah.
it. Love it. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Kathy.
Mhm.
And for the folks listening, if you didn't catch that episode with Deb Drummond, just go back into our
Mhm.
episodes, because that was an amazing interview as well.
Yes.
Just such a passionate advocate for
Yeah.
women and entrepreneurs. So, but thank you, Kathy. Thank you so much, and definitely keep us updated, and then we
Mhm.
can share those links with
Right.
our viewers as well.
Yes, well, thank
Next
you too.
time.
I love, like I was telling Gina before before we all got
Yeah.
on, as I've watched, so I've become addicted to your podcast, because they're so great, and they talk from the heart,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
really, but share at the same time important
Mhm.
lessons and ideas, and they're great. They're absolutely
Thank
great. So
you. Thank
thank
you
you
Mhm.
for
so
doing
much.
this.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
We really greatly appreciate that, Kathy. Thank you so much for saying that. And we're just grateful to have people, women like you and our guests that have been on so much. We've learned so much from all of you.
That's what I said. I learned so
Cathy,
much.
I walk away from each and every one of these interviews, and then just talking to you, my mind is just like all my gears are turning, and then and then the next day I'm just feeling so inspired, and then I'm like, it's just incredible. Gina and I have been extremely fortunate to have the most amazing women on our podcast, so we are very grateful.
Well, thank you. So you
Mhm.
all enjoy the rest of your time today.
Great.
And you too.
Thank you so much. I just really appreciate the opportunity to share and learn from
Yeah.
you all too.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Cathy.
you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hang on, let's hold on one second.